Welcome. My name is Renny Newman. I'm the Director for Solution Engineering with ZPE Systems. And during the second demo, which I'm going to give to you today, we're going to look a little bit closer at our zero-pane ecosystem, specifically how we can work around or work together with a couple of the security applications which you might use in your enterprise. I'm just going to reuse that slide from Karush's presentation. It highlights really the challenges there are. If you are working today in an enterprise, the likelihood that you have multiple products from this slide is very, very high. And the challenge is really, how do I deploy, how do I manage them at scale, not only in your data center, but across all of your different sites, all of your different locations which you might have. So if you look at some really, really basic requirements, what these security apps typically need is, they either need to sit somewhere in the path of your traffic to do whatever task they need to do, or they need to insert traffic in some shape or form. So insert traffic could be like a penetration test, which you might want to run, or maybe net flow. Okay, that would duplicate the traffic, but typically it needs to do something with the data traffic, which you might have in a location. And then the other big part is, ideally, you run those applications or those security apps in all of your locations, right? Just running it in your data center or just in your main offices is no good if somebody tries to attack you from through a branch location. Might not be true for all applications, but at least some of them, ideally you want to run in all of your applications, locations. Beg your pardon. So we, with our ZPE platform, specifically with our Notebook Service Router family, have a hardware appliance which you can use. Runs the same operating system, gives the same capabilities regardless of the size of your location of your data center. So it might be from an enterprise scale data center to a small edge micro data center where you have maybe only 5 or 6 racks in it, down to a really micro or nano data center, which might be only one device in a car, for example, in a police car. We had a use case there where some police cars are driving around with a small little box in the boot of the car to do some local analysis while they're at the scene. So those are all different scenarios where you might have devices deployed and where security is then directly imperative, even locally, to the devices. So what I'm going to show you is, this slide, how does a branch deployment look like, an edge deployment look like if you have us? So on the right-hand side, you have your applications, your cloud, your SaaS provider, and on the left-hand side, you have your branch location in itself. We would typically replace your 4G, 5G router in your location. We provide the same connectivity there, provide an out-of-band management network. But because we are already there, we're already providing all the necessary tools to manage a network. You can use us as well as a platform to run some additional tools, some additional apps, which can be of use to your branch, and which you might maybe not necessarily deploy, or you might use some virtual machines running on your compute solution on your server, which you might maybe have in the branch to do the task. With us, you can directly do it without the need of a dedicated server or virtual machine in your branch. So specifically, we're going to look at the following security apps for the demo. They're literally examples of them, of our pre-validated apps. Here at the bottom, you see a URL. If you want to see all the different apps which we currently have validated already, then you can just go there. For the demo, I'm going to specifically look at Horizon 3, which provides autonomous pen tests to enterprises. We're going to have a very brief look at how you can use the Universal Forwarder and install that on our appliance to gather all the logs from your branch and forward it to your Splunk server. And then I'm going to finish hopefully off my demo with a closed loop automation using StackStorm, where we're going to use StackStorm to drive automation on our appliance, or through our appliance, I should say. So let's start then off with Horizon 3. So Horizon 3, I'm not sure if the name is familiar or not. That's the reason why I'm briefly covering what Horizon 3 is actually providing. They have a product called NodeZero, and they're a partner of ours. And NodeZero provides autonomous pen tests for their customers. And essentially what Horizon 3 is trying to do is, if you look at the 3 problem statements here, is there are multiple vendors in each of those segments. But if you just look at each of them, like vulnerability scans, it's typically only one part of the security testing cycle. You might test something, then you fix it, and then you need to validate that actually your change was actually effective, right? So it's a continuous cycle. And depending on which area you're looking at, let's say a traditional pen test, those cycles might be quite long, quite lengthy. A penetration test can take a couple of weeks, a couple of months potentially. You end up with a report, then you implement your changes, and then you need to go through that entire cycle to get verification that actually your changes improved your current situation. So with our autonomous pen test, Horizon 3 tries to speed up that entire process, really works into that space of purple teaming, where you have a continuous cycle of tests, verification, you change, or you perform your changes, then you do another test, you get a report, and you verify again. So you get a continuous cycle. And hopefully you can, with Horizon 3, you can run multiple pen tests at the same time, and you can do it multiple times a week as well. And lastly, in all of your locations. So how do we fit together? Is Horizon 3, they have it's a SaaS-based solution, or a cloud-based solution. We are going to log into their platform. We can create the pen tests there. Everything, again, there is fully API-driven, can be fully automated. Essentially, you create the pen test, then using our ZPE Cloud, you would push the instruction out to run the pen test that arrives on the local units in each of your locations. They download the latest Docker image, which contains all the tests, all the latest tests, all the instructions. Then they spin the Docker image up, perform the pen tests, and then report it automatically back to the Horizon 3 platform. Okay. For the demo, I'm going to do it manually, but again, the whole thing can be easily fully automated, and it's going to be one of the examples which we're going to provide to our customers. So let me briefly log into our ZPE Cloud just to have that ready. Over here, I have the Horizon 3 platform. So that is the environment essentially. From here, you can. I've run a small little pen test just in my environment. It's a very, very small environment. That is the reason why there isn't really much happening. We have a sample test here as well, or sample report. We're going to look at that in a second. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to say we're going to rerun this test. That's all what I'm going to need. And now I'm going to get that start script, the launch script. So all what I need to do, if I want to do it manually, I just copy this script. And in our ZPE Cloud, I have a profile here. And I'm just going to paste their script in. I just have a little bit echoes stuff around it, but as you can see, it's a standard bash script, so no real secret there. And now all what I'm going to do is go to my device. Where are you? Yeah. Apply configuration. I can't type today. And that just got pushed out to our hardware appliance. Okay, so the hardware appliance on the background will download the Docker image, will run the Docker image, and when that whole process is completed, we will see a final report here in the Horizon 3 platform. I will go back to that entire process. The pen test takes a couple of minutes. Even my small environment takes around about 20 minutes. The deployment takes 2 or 3 minutes, so I'm going to show you in a minute how it looks like on our ZPE Cloud, what you can see there. For the time being, I just want to show you a sample pen test. What you can get from them is over here. So essentially what you get after it was run, you get a full report of all the findings. And for example, here in the sample exam, we have here domain compromise. And there are essentially multiple paths how the domain could have been compromised in this specific scenario. And you can click on each of the paths, and what you see then is it's like a tree of the different steps NodeZero took to potentially corrupt your domain. Okay, the stopping short, actually doing the actual breaking in or destroying something, but you can follow every single step, where they started, what they did. If you want proof for certain actions, like here, then these green boxes are there. You have the results here, the proof directly here. And essentially that, in this specific example, they were able to compromise the domain using an existing username or existing user and its hashed password, and then to break into that domain environment.
Rene, can you keep that on the screen? I think there's two points that I want to illustrate here. So the value of Horizon 3 and why it's called NodeZero is that it actually mimics malware. So it does the pivots and propagation as if it was malware. In fact, you could say they use malware and the malware code itself to do the malicious pen testing, except they stop short of destroying things, right? So it's the path that the malware would follow. But the reason that it's called NodeZero is that they need a starting point for the malware to launch from, as if it was on your PC. So imagine you have 100 offices around the world. I use the law firm example as an example, and you want to run a pen test on 4 different VLANs at 100 locations around the world. How do you launch this pen test continuously on a weekly basis, right? And that's really how the two companies go together, is that our platform as a launching pad to enable the pen test to take place. Just want to make sure that those two go together. Thanks.
Okay. So just briefly to show you how that looks like from our own perspective. You might have seen that already in the last demo, but if you go to profile, to the operation, you see then down here the individual steps we took on our device to run the pen test. Where am I? Right. So you can download it as a text file, and you can see that we downloaded the latest Docker image, from where we downloaded it, what we did on our own device, and then ultimately we started. And you can see down here that we are currently running their Docker image. The Docker image will completely destroy itself after the test is done, and then you can continue from there.
So Rene, a pretty cool use case. I think it's better than flying people around. That can be kind of time intense, and this can be done on continuous basis. I have another question. Have anybody ever asked you? I see that also as a perfect spot to run honeypots. Have you ever heard about it, or have you already run a honeypot on ZPE?
We haven't run a honeypot. I'm currently still looking for good applications. Most honeypots which I've seen, and I'm happy to get your input there as well, is they are designed around to be run on physical hardware, which they ship upon, right? Or they have quite a few constraints. I'm open. In general, we should be able to run any honeypot.
Yeah, but there are good systems like Canary that can be run virtual. No, they have hardware, but they have also software. There's an open source version, but there are also other products.
Okay.
I think it's exactly the same you did here would be a perfect spot. And often the attackers are looking to get into the out-of-band management infrastructure. And yeah, would be kind of cool to have such an security sensor running there. Yeah.
I looked into Canaries already, but I honestly thought that they have only hardware. So I just need to take another look at that. So if you tell me that they're doing virtual, then I'm going to test them out.
100% they are doing virtual. And they have also an open source, and there are Ansible script for that, so that should be
on this marketplace idea. Can you, if you guys actually, let us know what are all these different apps, because we love to be able to run all of their images and actually set up the scripts for them so people can get started quickly. So those are fantastic feedback for us.
So I'm going to skip the Splunk demo. There isn't really that much to show. Literally, you can install the universal Splunk forwarder on our appliance, gather all the logs locally and forward them directly into your Splunk instance. You can use it for our own local logs. Quite obviously, you can use it for console server logs. So if somebody logs into a device using the console connection, we create automatically logs, and they can be exactly in the same way forwarded to your Splunk server as any other log you might have in your environment.
And that would contain everything somebody typed in the console to any of the connected devices?
Yes.
Wonderful.
So briefly, and that demo is relatively short and brief. I'm going to do the video, which is around about 2 minutes. So here in this one, it's just a closed loop automation. And here, basically, the idea is you run whatever workload you want, maybe on our appliance, maybe somewhere else. And as part of the analysis, you will have certain events which you want to use as triggers to perform some form of automation or orchestration. And StackStorm is an open source automation platform. It's supported by the Linux Foundation, and it's built around event-driven automation tasks. So it's an idea platform for it. So what I'm going to show is that I'm just using an event trigger. I can show you what the event trigger is. This is really basic. I send that to StackStorm. StackStorm then will use its orchestration tools to talk to our ZPE Cloud, push a profile down to the board SR, and the board SR will again perform a change on our firewall using the console connection. The demo in itself is using an IP address, which I want to block. So idea is we identified a malicious IP address, and we just want to make sure that gets blocked on all the different firewalls. Just going to use this one because I know that I'm fat fingering it otherwise. So briefly, what you see here is, again, the FortiGate, same FortiGate we used before. Those are the currently existing policies. There are a couple of accept policies there for the different ports. And what I'm doing now is I'm just sending an event to StackStorm. I'm going to stop here briefly because what you see at the top of the window is essentially all what I'm sending. I'm just literally sending to one specific endpoint. I go to one specific endpoint in StackStorm, and all what I'm saying to StackStorm is block this IP address. That's it. Nothing else. And the rest StackStorm will handle. It receives the event, then communicates to our ZPE Cloud, and tells the ZPE Cloud to perform or to push a specific profile to our end device. So what you can see here is we received the event and we successfully communicated to our ZPE Cloud. That is the part in StackStorm. And if we go to ZPE Cloud, again under Profiles, Operation, you can see that the process started here. For the video, I sped the whole thing up a little bit because it ran a couple of minutes. Again, you get a full output, what we have done. If you do it through the console interface, again, you would get the data logs. You would see exactly which steps we took on the end device. So there's a full log there. And then if you go to the FortiGate, we just need to refresh the screen. And then you can see that the change was done. Okay.
Nice.
It gets logged locally, but does it also get logged to like a syslog or other platform?
Yes, yes. That is all built into our platform. We can use the data logs locally. We can forward them to syslog, or as I mentioned as well, through Splunk. And the same is true for our ZPE Cloud logs as well. Big takeaway is literally, we feel that the NodeGrid platform is an ideal choice for any form of your cybersecurity deployments and operational tasks. We provide you with a platform, which is a rich platform to enable you to do consistent operations through automation or manually, whatever you prefer. But we are a strong believer in automation. You can use whatever automation tool you want, and we give you that consistent platform to drive that through your enterprise to all of your end devices, using whatever tools and partners you desire.